Matt Rhule just wrapped up his biggest press conference of the year, and he had a lot to talk about in regards to TJ Lateef's performance versus UCLA, his pros, his cons, what he needs to continue to work on. But the question we all want the answer to, whether or not he will be our starting quarterback in 2026. And he also disclosed that multiple teams are currently tampering with TJ, trying to get him to transfer away from Nebraska. He discussed how we keep him here along with every other player on the roster because it's tampering season. He talked about Emmett Johnson, why he should be in the mix for the Heisman Trophy, a huge nugget around this defense, our plan for the bye week, whether it's in recruiting, whether it's in practice, and everything else you need to know, along with all of the news from today, my reaction to the AP poll, some crazy statistics around Nebraska. TJ Lateef, he keeps winning awards. We'll talk about that. Some recruiting bits, the Penn State game time, when we're going to play the Nittany Lions, and then we'll wrap up the video with a breakout player versus UCLA that absolutely nobody's talking about, but you need to know his name because he could start for Nebraska next season. So really quick, this video is loaded. Hey, if you're having a good Monday, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, we are getting so close to 15,000 subscribers. If you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you enjoy daily content, talking your favorites and talking Huskers, it's no brainer. Take 2 seconds, join the family, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. I want to get things started with Matt Rhule's press conference, and then we'll get to all the news from today because there's a lot. But starting off with Matt Rhule, right off the bat, he addressed the elephant in the room. TJ Lateef's performance versus UCLA, how good was it truly? Right off the bat, he said that TJ Lateef had a masterful performance. Not only one of the best quarterback performances he's seen all year in Nebraska, but one of the best quarterback performances he's ever seen since he's been a head coach. That he brought joy and energy to the sideline, that he was having fun out there, that he had great accuracy, great poise. He looked like a veteran as a true freshman in his first ever start on the road. And the best part about TJ on Saturday was his pocket presence. The offensive line is still a work in progress. Sure, it had a better game, but there'd be times where the pocket would break down. And in the past, with our old quarterback, we take a sack because the pocket presence was not great, and we would not step up, we would not scramble. But TJ, with his legs, he had great pocket presence. He would scramble for 5 yards. He'd roll it to the right and make a completion with his legs. So again, TJ Lateef, Matt Rhule addressed what everybody's thinking. One of the best quarterback performances of the year, dare I say the best quarterback performance of the year. And again, that's his first start on the road in a game that we were supposed to lose according to Vegas. So Matt Rhule said that he was incredibly impressed with TJ. He gave credit to Glenn Thomas, which I'll give credit to Glenn Thomas as well. Like, he did a really good job developing TJ over these past couple months. The improvement that he's shown from spring ball to now is absolutely astronomical. But he also said something that we've been talking about on the channel, that yes, TJ exceeded everybody's expectations, whether it's mine or whether it's Matt Rhule's. Probably TJ exceeded his own expectations. Despite all of that, we need to see it again versus Penn State, versus Iowa, definitely in the bowl game. And if he can do that, he'll definitely be in the mix to potentially be our quarterback next year. Now, he revealed something I thought was incredibly interesting. TJ Lateef is already getting calls in the transfer portal, teams who are tampering with him, trying to get him to transfer away from Nebraska and go to the SEC, go to the Big Ten, go to some other high-profile programs. So again, obviously it's incredibly disappointing, but we know that this is just college football nowadays, that the portal's not open until January, but tampering happens, not only with TJ, but every single player on this roster who's worth anything. And Matt Rhule addressed that. He said, you know what? I know that TJ's already getting calls, and he said, good for him. I love the kid. I hope he wants to stay with us. We've got good coaches. And honestly, I thought that was a very underwhelming response by Matt Rhule, because you're basically saying, good for him that he's getting an opportunity to start elsewhere, but we're going to roll with Jalyn next year. That's what he told me. That's reading in between lines. He said, you know what? Good for him, TJ. He's getting opportunities to play. He knows the plan here is that we're going to go back to Jalyn next season, and TJ is going to be the guy in 2027. The reason why I don't like that answer, because it's a really simple answer. He could have said, you know what? We want TJ to stay here because if he continues to play like this, he's going to start for one of the best programs in America. That's what you should have said. Not that you're just going to hand him the job, but that he's going to have an opportunity to compete for it. And Matt Rhule shut that down. He's saying, you know what? Jalyn's going to be the guy next year. We're happy that TJ's getting offers. We hope he stays here, obviously. But he confirmed what we kind of already knew, that Jalyn's going to get the job next year no matter what. And again, I'm not a fan of that, right? Where again, Jalyn's a fine quarterback, but Jalyn wasn't elite, and TJ outperformed him in one game. TJ broke records that Jalyn has never broke in 20 ball games in one game. So again, I understand we have to see more of TJ, but more than anything, I want competition between the two. And if Jalyn wins, Jalyn wins. If TJ wins, TJ wins. But I want competition. I want a real quarterback battle. We can't do compadres over competition. Good football teams are not built that way. That never happened with any good coach in the history of ever. Okay. So listen, I wasn't really thrilled with the answer there, but again, I do believe that Matt Rhule's going to do whatever it takes to keep TJ here. I'm not worried that he's going to let TJ leave. Like he's going to make sure TJ's here. But more than anything, if you want to convince TJ to stay, you gotta offer NIL, and you gotta say, hey, there's a plan for you to start going forward. Also, and here's a little bit of a wrinkle I want to add to the equation. I know everybody's worried about TJ leaving. From the conversations I've had, and I revealed this in the past, again, I told you guys that I am close to people who are, very close to TJ. You can read them between lines there. I had conversations last year with people close to TJ about TJ decommitting, because that was the big rumor at the time, and TJ never decommitted. There were rumors about TJ transferring high schools, because a bunch of past Nebraska quarterbacks from their high school, they transferred a million times. I don't want to name names, but that's a common occurrence nowadays. TJ Lateef never transferred high schools. He stayed at Orange Lutheran. Okay, so he never decommitted, he never transferred. He's a loyal at his heart, so just take that for what it's worth. Again, I'm not saying he's going to stay here guaranteed, but he's a loyal kid, and he really loves Nebraska, so I do believe he will stay long term. And then, of course, he said the tampering is not only happening with TJ, that literally every single player worth anything on this team is getting calls. And he didn't name names, but I can already tell you there's a couple who are getting calls. I bet Nyziah Hunter's getting calls. Absolutely is. I guarantee you that Andrew Marshall is getting calls. I guarantee you Williams Winery is getting calls. I guarantee you Vincent Shavers is getting calls. Even a Keona Davis, what he did versus UCLA, he's going to get calls. So not only does Nebraska have to attack in the portal, you have to retain your top talent, because if you can't retain your top guys, you're just not going to be a very good football team. So it was interesting that Matt Rhule mentioned that. He went on a 2-minute tangent talking about Emmett Johnson, why he should be in the mix for every single award imaginable, whether it's the Doak Walker, the Heisman, All Big Ten, All American. And I appreciate that from Matt Rhule, standing up for our guy, Emmett Johnson. What he's doing is unbelievable this season. He's number 2 in rushing yards in America. He's number 1 all-purpose yards nationally. Again, he literally read off pretty much every single statistic that he's leading in not only the Big Ten, but in America. So, and he also gave credit where credit's due. It's not only Emmett, but the offensive line's improving. Elijah Pritchett, he named Elijah specifically, and this Elijah's had a really good 3 weeks. And he also said the wide receivers are blocking as well as I've ever seen. So take that for what it's worth. Also credit to Nikhil Shorts doing a really good job with that unit, because it's funny. We had one of the worst blocking receiver corps last year. It went from the worst to the best overnight. And all you had to do is switch one coach. The receiver coach went from Gary McGuire to Nikhil Shorts. It's funny what happens when you switch coach. I'm just saying. I'm not inferring anything. I'm just saying. He had a little bit of a nugget around the defense. Of course, he said the defense struggled versus UCLA. It wasn't as good as what we wanted it to around it. And John Butler obviously didn't have the best game plan. His way too conservative. All things we've heard before. But he did say the silver lining around this defense is that we are still only one of 8 teams nationally to never give up 400 yards or more in a single ball game. So I know we can't stop the run. We've had trouble taking the ball away, right? We can't get to the quarterback. There are some issues with the defense, and yet it's a bend, don't break defense. It always is, always has been. That's the philosophy. That's the identity. Is the defense elite? Absolutely not, but it keeps Nebraska in the ball games and allows us offense to strike. So that is a nugget around the defense that I thought was interesting. A couple other things around Matt Rhule's press conference before we get to all the news from today. He said it's deeper than football. That again, after we won, TJ Lateef, first thing he did before he praised himself, before he praised anybody else, he praised Dylan. Same deal with Emmett. Emmett had an all-time day. Before he said anything, he praised Dylan. So that's I think that's special about this team. While Dylan maybe didn't play the best football this year, I'm never going to throw Dylan under the bus. The team's never going to throw Dylan under the bus because he's worked harder than anybody. And also, Dylan changed this program. Dylan changed this program with him being a 5-star, giving himself the faith to come here, take a chance, not to go to Georgia, not to go Ohio State, but to come here. And he elevated this program with his presence alone. So while I'll be the first to tell you Dylan was not great this year, I mean, he was fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't elite. But I'll never be the one to throw him under the bus, and I'll never be the one to completely throw him to the wayside, because, again, I always will acknowledge what Dylan did. He elevated this program with him committing here. But, again, the culture is as strong as ever. When a quarterback goes down, it says a lot when everybody starts thanking him more than anybody else. He discussed NIL. We'll talk about NIL specifically in a later video this week, but he said that we got the money this year. We got the money this year to go crazy in the portal, that, we're going to go after some defensive linemen. We're going to go after some offensive linemen. We are going to get the best players in the portal, period. End of discussion. We are going to be in the mix with schools like Alabama, Oregon, and we're going to outbid them. And expect quality and quantity. We're going to take about 20 players in the portal. And he also said something I thought was interesting. He said there are a couple players who left Nebraska last year who wish they were here, who wish they stayed. He didn't name names, but we can infer. Maybe a James Williams, maybe a Jamari Butler. Those are all guys who they probably should have stayed here, but they left because I thought they're going to green pastures for money. But I thought that was a very, very interesting comment. And last but not least, before we get to the news, he said it's going to be a big week of recruiting coming up, that he's going to be on the road pretty much all week long, going to the East Coast, going to the West Coast. He's focusing on the class of 26 and expect to get some commits there. And again, we'll have a big-time recruiting update tomorrow on the channel. All right, let's get to the news from today. Man, TJ Lateef has been earning award after award. This was posted by Pro Football Focus. He was ranked as one of the best quarterbacks in America, 7th nationally from last week. That is the first time a Nebraska quarterback has been ranked in the top 10 all year long. This is from arbitrary analytics that TJ Lateef now holds the record for the highest completion percentage in a player's first 4 games since 1995. That's not a coincidence either, right? That's not a coincidence. That's crazy. And then, of course, he just earned this just a couple minutes ago. TJ Lateef is your Big Ten co-freshman player of the week. And it should be noted around that is the first time a Nebraska quarterback has won that award since Adrian Martinez against a Power 4 team. Dylan only won that award once, but that was week 1 against UTEP. So Dylan in 13 games last year never won that award against a real team. TJ did it in his first start. So again, I don't want to be the guy to compare the two all the time, but again, that's the nature of the business. This is the nature of the business. And what TJ did, I'm going to give him flowers. And I want to just ask you a question. This to all the people who are still on Dylan's side, and again, it's okay to be on Dylan's side. I'm on Dylan's side. But to all the people who are still like, Dylan's going to be the starter no matter what next year, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. What has Dylan showed you this season, not last season, this season, to prove to you that he's better than TJ right now? Like in any ball game, what is it like? Pull receipts. What ball game? Was it the Maryland game where there was 3 interceptions? Was it the Michigan game? I think he played really well in the Michigan game. I think that was probably his best game, but we lost. Like, what game has Dylan proved to you that he's better than TJ? Because DJ in one start outperformed Dylan. In one start, and it should be noted that Dylan played the exact same UCLA team last year at home. Again, UCLA was terrible last year. They only won 5 games. And UCLA beat us. And Dylan Raiola only threw for 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. TJ plays the exact same team with, honestly, some more talent on offense on the road in a night environment and had better stats than that. So, again, you can be on Dylan's side. There's no sides. We root for both quarterbacks. But to the people who are so closed-minded and refuse to give TJ any credit, what has Dylan proved you to say, okay, he's guaranteed still our guy, no matter what? No matter what. There shouldn't even be a competition. What has he proved you? That's my question to you. I would love to see that in the comment section. All right, let's get to all the news as well. AP poll was released yesterday. Nothing crazy here. Indiana still at number 2. Man, there's some weird teams, though, at the bottom. Cincinnati still ranked. You got JMU. You got South Florida in there. Virginia still ranked after losing. Yeah, man. I mean, this just tells you how different college football is from literally 5-10 years ago. I wish, man, such a missed opportunity. I mean, this would have been the year Nebraska should have made the playoffs, and we just couldn't get out of our own way. And we're still not receiving any votes. Like, Missouri has 3 losses, they're getting a lot of votes. Iowa has 3 losses, they're getting a lot of votes. Illinois has 3 losses, they're getting a lot of votes. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked we're not getting any votes, but we definitely still probably don't deserve to be ranked. The Big Ten has placed Nebraska's game versus Penn State on hold, so we do not know what time we'll play them until next Sunday. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm assuming it's going to be, I think it's going to be 2:30 kickoff, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's CBS. I'm not going to lie, because, again, yes, Penn State's not having a great season, but they get ratings, and Nebraska gets ratings too. And there's really not too many other good games this week in the Big Ten besides, I believe, USC plays Oregon. But that's probably going to be the nightcap on NBC. So I wouldn't be shocked if, again, they give us CBS 2:30 because it's again that bad of a week, and Nebraska definitely gets ratings, and they definitely want to put us back on national television. Couple of recruiting nuggets here. Joshua Samapelli, who just made his top 10. Again, normally we don't report on like top 10s, but it should be noted because he's a pretty elite prospect. He's a borderline 5-star in the class of 27. He's listed as the 30th best player in America. I think he actually is a 5-star according to a couple sites. He's literally like 6'10". He's huge, man. Honestly, he might be able to play basketball for us. He's that tall. He's 350 pounds too. So Nebraska in the top 10. I think he's visited Nebraska 2 times already. So the Huskers in the mix. I wanted to show you guys this. Look at our old friend Danny Kaelin. He started for Virginia on Saturday, and they lost the football game. And Danny Kaelin, I'll tell you, he didn't play the best game, but he started. So that's huge news for him. Virginia at the time was number 14 in America, and he had a 60-yard run. I'm not going to show you the play, obviously, because it was on ESPN. But, yeah, 60-yard run. He almost went to the house. I think he went out of bounds to the 1-yard line. So he had some speed on him. But, hey, man, Danny Kaelin, I'm happy that he's succeeding elsewhere. Again, he didn't have the best game. He led him to a loss, but still, he's their future. He's going to be the starting quarterback next year, Virginia. And you know what? Yeah, I'm proud of him because he's not only a former Nebraska guy, but he's coming out of Omaha. He's coming out of Bellevue West, and I wish he had some success here. But obviously, he got dealt a bad hand because he was Nebraska's commit in the class of 26. Matt Rhule promised him that we weren't going to take Dylan Raiola, and then we took Dylan Raiola last second, and Danny was trying to get out of his commitment, and then he just didn't have any other options, right? He had to stay with Nebraska and he transferred the year later. But again, that's opening a can of worms that we've already talked about. A lot of stuff behind the scenes that's probably not worthy of bringing back up. Then I wanted to show you guys this. UCLA is about to move out of the Rose Bowl. They're going to SoFi Stadium likely next year, if not in 2027. So hey, man, we just played in the Rose Bowl. That might be the last time Nebraska ever plays there. That will be the last time Nebraska ever plays there in a regular season game. If we make the playoffs, we might get back in the Rose Bowl, but we will never play there again in a regular season game. So obviously that's incredibly sad. It's sad because that stadium has so much history. I don't want it to, you know, be have nothing in it for only, you know, every single day of the year except for one. That's awful. And also to mention that SoFi Stadium, it's soulless. It's just one of those LA soulless stadiums. It's going to be completely empty for UCLA. I get the facility's nice, but it has no history there. So they're making a huge mistake, making an absolutely huge mistake. All right, last thing before we get out of here, I just want to give some props to Gabe Moore because Gabe Moore had a really good game versus UCLA. Again, the statistics aren't there, and everyone's like, "Well, Gabe Moore doesn't have any statistics. He's not very good." You can't look at the box score when it comes to nose tackles. You have to look at the film. You have to look at even the PFF grades as well. I mean, he received the highest PFF grade of any defensive lineman on Nebraska's team versus UCLA. I think that's actually the third time that's happened this year. Like Gabe Moore, he only plays like 5 or 10 snaps in every single game. He's productive. He's getting to the running back. He's getting a little bit of pass rush. They're putting him at both 3 tech and 0 tech. So I really like Gabe Moore. This is one of my gems of the offseason. I told you guys, like, I was more so worried about Gabe Moore staying healthy and kind of the off the field stuff. But if he could figure out all that, I told you guys, Gabe Moore's potential is through the roof. Because again, he has such a good motor. He's so athletic. He has such a good build on him, and he's really showing up this year. So I don't expect him to start, you know, going into Penn State, going into Iowa. He's, again, his role is ramping up. But I think going into next year, maybe even going to the bowl game with, you know, some players transferring out, Gabe Moore potentially is going to start for us next season. So definitely want to give him some love, and I want to make sure I want to make sure that I highlight him so he understands that he's loved and that he should not transfer elsewhere, because again, it's tampering season, guys. Man, this is going to be the wildest transfer portal season of our lifetimes, and I'm happy to cover it with you guys on the channel. It's gonna be a wild December and January. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about everything. Hey, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go Matt Rhule, and I'll see you in the next one.